The phone wouldn't stop ringing on the fancy hotel nightstand. Alejandro opened his eyes, his head pounding from last night's whiskey and guilt. Laura was still sleeping beside him, completely naked, a satisfied smile on her lips. It was almost 8 in the morning. Shit, I have to get home before Sophia wakes up, he muttered as he answered without checking the caller. ID, hello, silence. Then his mother-in-law's trembling voice, Alejandro, where are my grandchildren? The world froze. He drove like a madman, running red lights, heart hammering in his chest. When he burst through the front door of their beautiful suburban home, the silence hit him like a punch. Toys were still scattered in the living room. But Lucas and Mia were gone. Sophia's closet was empty. Her passport, jewelry, important documents, all vanished. On the dining table lay a single note in her elegant handwriting. You will never see us again. Ever. Alejandro dropped to his knees, screaming their names until his throat burned. The man who had betrayed his family just hours earlier was now completely alone. For the next 3 days, Alejandro barely slept. He called every hospital, every police station, every friend. No one had seen Sophia or the children. The police treated it as a standard spouse leaving with kids case. She'll come back when she calms down, they said, but Alejandro knew Sophia. She was the devoted wife, the perfect mother, the woman who had stood by him through his struggling years when he was building his construction company. How could she disappear so completely? He sat in their empty house, replaying the last months. The fights, the cold distance, the way she looked at him sometimes like she already knew. Had she found out about Laura? On the 4th night, while searching Sophia's laptop for any clue, he found something strange, a hidden folder with bank statements. Large transfers to an account he didn't recognize. Thousands of dollars over the past year. His phone rang. It was his best friend, Diego. Bro, I just heard. I'm so sorry. Come over. Let's talk. At Diego's apartment, Alejandro broke down and confessed everything about the affair. Diego listened with a serious face, then poured him another drink. You know, Sophia came to see me 2 weeks ago, Diego said quietly. She was crying. Said she suspected you were cheating. I told her she was imagining things. That you would never do that to her. Alejandro felt a wave of relief. At least his best friend had defended him. But as he left Diego's place, something felt off. Why had Sophia gone to Diego instead of her own sister? The next morning, Alejandro received a mysterious email from an unknown address. Contained a single video file. When he opened it, his blood ran cold. It was security footage from a cafe near his office. Sophia was sitting with a man, and they were holding hands. The man leaned in and kissed her forehead. The timestamp was from last month. Alejandro's world tilted. His wife had been seeing someone else. Consumed by rage and confusion, Alejandro hired a private investigator. He needed answers. Every night he stared at the empty beds of his children and cried. The investigator's first report arrived a week later. Sophia had withdrawn almost all the money from their joint accounts 2 days before she disappeared. She had also sold her car and transferred the title. But the biggest shock was the destination on the plane tickets she purchased. Spain. She's taking the kids to Spain. Alejandro whispered in disbelief. He booked the next flight. He would find them and bring his family back. He still loved Sophia. He would beg for forgiveness. They could fix this. But when he landed in Madrid and followed the address the investigator gave him, he found an empty apartment. The landlord said the woman and 2 children had only stayed 1 night before leaving again. Back in his hotel in Madrid, Alejandro received another anonymous email. This one had documents attached. They were medical records. Sophia's medical records. She had been diagnosed with cancer 8 months ago, stage 3. She had been undergoing secret treatment while he was busy with work. And Laura, the final page was a letter from Sophia to her lawyer, written 2 weeks before she disappeared. I don't want my children to watch their mother die slowly while their father is sleeping with another woman. I'm taking them somewhere they can be happy. Alejandro can keep his mistress. I'm done. Alejandro collapsed. The guilt was crushing. His wife was dying, and he had been cheating. But then he noticed the date on the diagnosis. Something didn't add up. He flew back home immediately. While going through old emails on his company server, he discovered something that shattered him completely. Sophia had been communicating with his business partner, Miguel, for over a year. Not romantically, but about the company. She had been secretly gathering evidence that Miguel had been stealing millions from the construction firm and laundering it through offshore accounts. But the worst part, Diego, his best friend, was involved too. They had been planning to push Alejandro out and take over the company. The affair with Laura Sophia had known for months. She had been waiting for the perfect moment. The private investigator called with the biggest bombshell. Yet Sophia isn't who you think she is. Her real name is Valentina Ruiz. She comes from a very wealthy family in Spain. She changed her identity when she married you because her father disapproved of you. The cancer diagnosis. It was fake. A trick to make the disappearance look believable and gain sympathy if you ever tried to fight for custody. Alejandro felt like he was in a nightmare. The woman he married had been playing a long game. She had taken the children and most of the liquid assets. But she had left something behind, a USB drive hidden in Mia's old teddy bear. On it were recordings. Conversations between Miguel and Diego planning to frame Alejandro for the financial crimes, so he would go to prison while they took everything. Sofia had been collecting evidence against them the entire time. While Alejandro was still processing everything, Miguel and Diego made their move. They called an emergency board meeting and presented evidence that Alejandro had been embezzling company funds. Police showed up at his house with an arrest warrant. Alejandro was arrested in front of his neighbors. The public humiliation was complete. News channels ran the headline: "Successful businessman abandons dying wife and flees with mistress." He spent 3 nights in jail before his lawyer got him out on bail. Everything seemed lost. In his darkest moment, Alejandro received a video call from an unknown number. It was Sofia. She looked healthy, radiant even. "You finally found the USB," she said calmly. "Good. Now listen carefully. You have 48 hours to use everything on it. If you don't, I will make sure you never see Lucas and Mia again." She wasn't running away. She had been protecting their children from the monsters Alejandro had trusted more than his own family. Alejandro went public. He held a press conference with all the evidence Sofia had gathered. The recordings, the bank transfers, the fake cancer documents, everything. The scandal exploded. Miguel and Diego were arrested within hours. The company's stocks crashed. In a dramatic live television moment, Alejandro stood in front of cameras and apologized to Sofia. "I betrayed you. I failed you and our children. But today, I choose justice. For you, for Lucas and Mia." As the cameras rolled, Sofia walked into the room holding the children's hands. The entire country watched as the family reunited on live television. Lucas ran to his father crying. Mia hugged him tightly. Sofia looked at Alejandro with tears in her eyes, but also strength. "You get one chance to be the man we deserve," she whispered. 6 months after the dramatic reunion, life in their new villa overlooking the Mediterranean seemed perfect. The children were happy. Alejandro had started a smaller, honest construction company in Spain. Sofia smiled more, but there were moments late at night when he caught her staring at her phone with a cold expression he had never seen before. One evening, while the kids were asleep, Alejandro found a locked drawer in Sofia's home office. Inside was a new passport with her real name, Valentina Ruiz, and a one-way ticket to Mexico City dated for next month. Alone, his heart sank. Was she planning to leave him again? He confronted her that night. Sofia looked at him with tired eyes. "I thought we agreed to leave the past behind," she said softly, but her hands were shaking. Before she could explain, the doorbell rang. 2 police officers stood outside with a warrant for Sofia's arrest. What had she done? At the station, the detective revealed shocking evidence. Sofia Valentina was being accused of murdering her own father, the wealthy, Spanish businessman who had supposedly disapproved of her marriage. The crime allegedly happened 2 weeks before she first disappeared with the children. Alejandro was devastated. The woman he fought to get back had killed her own father. During visiting hours, Sofia grabbed his hand through the glass. "I didn't kill him, but I know who did, and they're coming for our family next. The cancer was fake, but the danger is very real." She slid a small key across the table. "Open the safe behind the painting in the bedroom. Everything is there. Protect our children. Alejandro, this time, it's your turn to fight." Back at the villa, Alejandro opened the safe. Inside were documents proving that Sofia's father had been involved in a massive human trafficking ring using his construction companies as a front. Sofia had been gathering evidence against him for years. The night she disappeared, she had planned to expose him publicly, but someone had killed her father first and framed her. The worst discovery: Diego, the best friend who was supposed to be in prison, had been released on a technicality and was now in Spain. His last known location was only 20 minutes away. Alejandro realized the game was far from over. Who was really controlling everything from the shadows? Alejandro received a threatening video on his phone. Lucas and Mia playing in their schoolyard, filmed from a distance. A distorted voice said, "Bring us the original evidence your wife collected, or your children will disappear, for real this time." He was done being the naive husband. For the first time, Alejandro became the hunter. He used the contacts from Sofia's hidden files and reached out to her estranged uncle, a powerful man in Spanish intelligence. Together, they set a trap. But when Alejandro went to meet the uncle, he walked into an ambush. Diego was waiting with 2 armed men. "You were always so easy to manipulate," Diego sneered. Sofia was never the target. Her father wanted you dead from the beginning. Would Alejandro survive the night? A brutal fight broke out. Alejandro, fighting for his children's lives, managed to overpower one attacker but was shot in the shoulder. As Diego prepared to finish him, police sirens wailed. Sofia's uncle had tracked the meeting. Diego was arrested again, this time with solid evidence of attempted murder and ties to the trafficking ring. In the hospital, Alejandro woke up to see Sofia sitting beside his bed, holding his hand. She had been released after the new evidence cleared her name. The children ran in and hugged him carefully. For a moment, everything felt right. but as Sophia kissed his forehead, she whispered, "There's one more secret I never told you." The final revelation came during a quiet family dinner, 2 weeks later. Sophia confessed that she had known about the trafficking ring even before marrying Alejandro. She had married him partly because she needed someone clean and outside her father's world to eventually help her destroy it. "I used you at the beginning," she admitted with tears. "But I fell in love with you for real. That's why I fought so hard to protect you from them." Alejandro felt anger, love, betrayal, and admiration all at once. In a final act of justice, they released all the remaining evidence to international authorities. The entire trafficking network collapsed. Dozens of powerful people were arrested across Spain and Mexico. Emotional revenge and closure, Diego received a life sentence. The uncle was honored publicly for helping bring down the ring. Alejandro and Sofia renewed their vows in a small beach ceremony with Lucas and Mia as witnesses. On their wedding night, as they watched the sunset, Alejandro asked the question that had haunted him for over a year. "After everything, do you still love me?" Sofia smiled, the same mysterious, powerful smile that once terrified and attracted him. "I never stopped. But now you finally understand, in this family, we don't just survive, we win." Unexpected final twist as they walked back to the villa hand in hand. Alejandro noticed a small tattoo on Sofia's wrist he had never seen before, a date from 3 years ago. The same week he first met Laura. She had known about the affair from the very first night, and she had been planning her masterpiece of revenge and redemption ever since. The end.